Do you want to be the founder of the next Nest, Zoom, or Coinbase? These are all multi-billion-dollar businesses in the tech industry that made the founders billionaires. What the founders had in common is that they worked for other tech companies as employees first, before they went and founded their own companies. They might not be the 20-something or even teenage college dropouts who would start their companies before even finishing school, as people would typically picture tech companies' founders to be. However, these founders are certainly very successful, and their experience working as an employee actually inspired and/or enabled them to start their own business. Believe it or not, according to a report published in the Harvard Business Review, the average age of a successful startup founder is 45. The above statement was cited by a Forbes article titled, quote, Age and Entrepreneurship. Research shows average age of successful founders is older than you think, end quote. The same Forbes article also explained why this is the case. Data indicates that part of the explanation is rooted in the fact that middle-aged entrepreneurs simply have more attempts than their younger counterparts. As they gain more general business experience, the propensity for eventual success increases. Welcome to Personal Finance Cat, where I share my personal take on personal finance. Okay, this is a long-winded intro, but I just wanted to make the case that if you are interested in becoming a Metaverse entrepreneur, one route is to work for a Metaverse-focused company like Meta or Microsoft first. When I planned out my podcast episode topics months ago, I didn't expect that there would be a massive layoff spree in the tech industry. But you know what? This is actually perfect timing. On the one hand, getting a job in these companies will be much more difficult now. But at the same time, the companies that survive the storms would be the truly strong and resilient ones, and would also have that much greater potential for long-term growth. As they say, one of the best ways to learn is to learn while getting paid. It's easier said than done though, because it is well known that companies like Microsoft and Meta are hard to get in. Once you do get in, not only will you get paid well, you will also be in the know and continuously develop yourself. Like I said in the intro, such experience working for other companies may be critical for you to start your own business. Coinbase founder Brian Armstrong worked at Airbnb before starting Coinbase. Zoom founder Eric Yuan worked at WebEx before starting Zoom. Nest founder Tony Fadell worked at Apple before starting Nest, and the list goes on. My point is, by immersing yourself in an environment that closely ties to what you are passionate about, one day you may have a grounded, realistic, and actionable quote-unquote epiphany to start something on your own. Sounds exciting? Well, so how do you get your foot in the door, especially amongst the layoffs that have been going on at tech companies? Well, that's why I said that this episode really has great timing. These downturns would undoubtedly wipe out the companies that do not have a sustainable business model. And whichever companies that do survive, on the contrary, are the ones that indeed have great business models and/or economics. Think about the dot-com bubbles that wiped out dozens of internet companies, but those who survived not only survived but thrived, such as Google and Amazon. In my view, there are two main ways to get in the door of great tech companies, including the ones that focus on the metaverse. One way is through the technical route, i.e., developing and mastering programming skills that are in high demand. The other way is being the business person that adds tremendous value, meaning knowing extremely well how the tech business works, and skills such as sales and marketing, business development, supply chain, etc. would be very important. Let's talk about the technical route first. In order to go this route, learning how to code and program is almost inevitable. There are many videos and podcasts dedicated to help you learn coding and programming, with many of them completely free. Here I want to highly recommend freecodecamp.org, which puts out many free tutorials on YouTube, covering programming languages from Python to C to JavaScript, you name it. Also, just want to put a plug here that after the Metaverse season, I'll be putting out podcast episodes where I interview friends and acquaintances about all kinds of topics related to personal finance. The very first one would be about a friend of mine who became a self-taught software engineer currently working at Microsoft. My point is, it is definitely doable, even if you don't have a computer science degree or any coding background. However, the reason why I say it's quote-unquote almost inevitable is because there are other technical careers which do not require coding. Here, I'm recommending a video that talks about the 7 non-coding tech jobs that pay over 100K by Salhan. And these jobs are product manager, project manager, UX researcher, UX designer, UI designer, software business analyst, and quality assurance tester. There are other similar videos by Tiff and Bukola, so if you think this is the route for you, learning is a big part of it. From what I can gather, it can be really fun and rewarding. And although it can be very challenging at times, it is achievable as long as you put your mind to it. Now let's switch gears to the other route, which may be more suitable if you already have years of experience in business, but just want to switch to a tech company because you are so passionate about the metaverse. During the most recent tech boom, which is unfortunately crashing down now, hopefully people realize that the successful tech companies have these quote-unquote mature business people in the background who directed the companies on the right and profitable track. Even though the founders and their visions are critical, the people who know how to bring a company from a great idea to a great business are certainly indispensable. And since we're talking about the metaverse, let's talk about Meta, and in particular, 2 people who have played an instrumental role in bringing Meta to where it is now. And perhaps unsurprisingly, both are also billionaires themselves, even though they're not technical people per se. The first person is Chamath Palihapitiya. Prior to joining Facebook, now known as Meta, Palihapitiya worked at AOL, where he was the youngest vice president ever, and then Mayfield Fund. In 2007, he left Mayfield and joined Facebook, which was then a little more than 3 years old. Palihapitiya was the VP of growth at Facebook and led a team that focused entirely on new user growth. After 4 years, Facebook hit 1 billion users. As you may or may not know, the fact that Facebook has a huge user base is the reason why Facebook was able to create a monetization strategy that worked really well. More on that later. This is due to the so-called network effect, the phenomenon by which the value or utility a user derives from a good or service depends on the number of users of compatible products. In other words, as more and more people got on Facebook, it became so indispensable because all of your friends and family, as well as your favorite celebrities, were all on there. You simply had to be part of it. So growing the user base to 1 billion is no small feat. The other person was Sheryl Sandberg. Prior to joining Facebook, Sandberg held various careers in consulting, government, and most relevantly, Google. Sheryl joined Google in 2001 and was responsible for online sales of Google's advertising and publishing products, as well as for sales operations of Google's consumer products and Google Book Search. In March 2008, Facebook announced the hiring of Sandberg for the role of Chief Operating Officer and her leaving Google. After joining the company, Sandberg quickly began trying to figure out how to make Facebook profitable. Before she joined, the company was, quote, primarily interested in building a really cool site. Profits, they assumed, would follow, end quote. By late spring of 2008, Facebook's leadership had agreed to rely on advertising, quote, with the ads discreetly presented, end quote. By 2010, Facebook became profitable. During the time Sandberg was at Facebook, she oversaw the firm's business operations, including sales, marketing, business development, human resources, public policy, and communications. Sandberg is widely credited to have played a significant role in growing Facebook into the trillion-dollar company that it was in 2021. So what's the moral of the stories? You certainly don't have to be a technical person to be able to have a career at a tech company or a metaverse company for that matter. The business skills are definitely critical, and one may say even more critical than technical skills, especially during a startup company's transformative years. Both Palihapitiya and Sandberg had extensive business experience prior to joining Facebook, a startup at the time that was not making a profit yet. So these individuals, I'm sure along with a lot of others, were part of the team that transformed Facebook into a social media giant. And this downturn, if not the dot-com bubble already, should have made us realize how critical this transformation is. Because without being a profitable company and having a strong balance sheet, it will be extremely difficult, if not impossible, to weather the macroeconomic storm. As Warren Buffett once said, only when the tide goes out do you discover who's been swimming naked. In summary, knowing how to run a business greatly is perhaps equally important, if not more important, than a great business idea itself. And those skills need to be acquired over many years of actually being in the trench of doing the work, ideally at established companies where things may be more standardized, proceduralized, and streamlined, hopefully. So if you're someone who is more mature, like myself, and has been working for more mature businesses, like I have, the more natural route is to utilize the skills you already accumulated and adapt them to be helpful in a startup context. If you feel like there's any particular area that you're lacking, now is a great time to acquire and or improve those skills while the tech industry is in a downturn. Because there are probably very limited opportunities in the metaverse-focused companies right now anyway. Bonus tip: also use this time to learn about the metaverse as much as possible. Because to get your foot in the door without being a technical person is definitely way more competitive. You may ask, why? Well, I'm not trying to sugarcoat things. And the reality is that these quote-unquote soft skills are harder to demonstrate. They usually cannot be easily tested through technical interviews, for example. As such, a lot of people can claim that they have these skills. So at the end of the day, even if you're totally competent, you may be screened out just because other people have better interview skills. So bottom line, if you can demonstrate you have a lot of metaverse-specific industry knowledge through reading, watching videos, listening to podcasts, attending conferences, etc., that shows your passion and dedication, which can significantly increase your chances. Hopefully this episode inspires you to seek a career in the metaverse industry. Most importantly, being technical is not the only way, although that's also achievable if you put your heart to it. Like I hinted, next year I'll be doing some interviews with friends and acquaintances to showcase how there are real people who have actually achieved great things through hard work and determination, from learning how to code to getting a career in tech to starting their own businesses. Stay tuned. Thanks so much for listening to the end. As always, I would really appreciate it if you can leave a rating or review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, or leave a like or comment on YouTube. It will mean so much to me like you can't imagine. Bye for now. Talk to you next time.